Ladies and gents, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, this is Battlefield 5, and today I'm talking about an epic combo that barely anyone uses, and we'll go through the reasons for that. But right now I think it's really good for the right player, but a nerf is probably coming to it soon with the 6.2 update. And I gotta be really quick today because I'm doing this after I've just got back from visiting my dad. I don't have time to get more footage, and quite honestly my stomach is very unhappy with what I ate last night. So I'm just gonna get this information out as quickly as I can before it gets nerfed next week, so giving you as much time as possible. Much more brief than normal, nowhere near as detailed because I can't, and then I'll just fill the rest of the video with whatever footage I have left of this combo. At least I don't have to listen to people complain about the video being 10 minutes long this time. So let's get straight to the point, no messing about. I'm talking about the STG with a 3x scope. And oh, get good, that's not exactly some genius idea no one's ever heard of. I know, but listen to the reasoning. Not many people are running around with this combo. In fact, I very rarely did it because, as some people have brought up to me before, why put a 3x scope on an assault rifle? Generally, it doesn't seem to make much sense. And so because that has been the thought process before, a lot of the time that idea just gets thrown away, no one comes back to try it in different metas at different times, and it just isn't a thing. Just not many people do it. Now, if you're already doing this, then fair play to you. Let me know how good you think it is in the comments below because I think it's excellent. And yes, I did want to get this out as I said because I think this will be nerfed. When the 6.2 update comes, we're going to get more recoil. And the only reason this works for me right now is because I'm able to control the recoil on the STG whilst using a 3x scope. Some people won't be able to do that full stop, I fully understand that. If you try this and it's not for you, that's perfectly fine, but at least you gave it a go. But for some people such as me, it's great right now. The range of it just seems way more than it should have, and the 3x scope helps with seeing people at range and stops you losing people in your sights when you're using something like the reflex sight or the iron sights or whatever it may be. Now, I have in fact had comments before essentially ribbing me when I've tried using scopes on automatic assault weapons, so in the assault class, and I kind of get it. For example, at that point I was running around with a 3x scope on a Sturmgewehr in the old TTK, and there wasn't much point, to be honest, a lot of the time, but I like to try new things, and that has led me to where I am now though, with a 3x scope on the STG, and it's kind of changed my game. I made a video recently saying about how Battlefield 5 right now is the hardest I've been pushed playing solo on a Battlefield game, and utilizing this combination the past few days has actually made things a lot easier for me. So I really wanted to get out there and recommend it to you and give some of you guys a chance to try it in case after the update it's not as good, because we do know that recoil is going to return, and if the STG starts bouncing around all over the shop, then using a 3x scope just isn't going to be viable for a lot of people. Now, don't get me wrong, if we do get that update and it's still good, then I'll 100% make a video then and say, oh look, this is actually still epic, still barely anyone doing it, go and give it a try. And I've talked about before why I really like using 3x scopes. It's because on a weapon where I can control the recoil well, it still makes them viable at close range. The STG is good at close range and mid range, and the 3x scope doesn't hamper me in that department, but it does then add my potential range abilities, my longer range abilities. Without a scope on it, the STG is a little more tricky to use for that because, as stated, the iron sights and the reflex sight, they're just not particularly clear by comparison, and you don't get any significant magnification. Plus, it can counter poor visibility in the game, and it keeps being improved, as I've said before in other videos, but Battlefield 5 is still a game where it can be hard to see the enemy at times. Using a scope kind of mitigates that. It's certainly, again, much easier than not using one. When it comes to spotting enemies, checking areas, that's a big thing. Just checking if someone's there. Being able to scope in, have a look, see no one and move on. You don't really get that option if you don't have magnification, and the STG is just really solid right now. It's a real standout in the assault class in my opinion. It's probably too easy to use and too lethal compared to a lot of other guns at the minute, and it's the only reason I really want to use assault right now. I said again in another video recently, I think medic is pretty overpowered, and for me and a lot of other people, we're pretty happy to be able to use an SMG and just at least compete at mid-range, maybe giving away a little bit of damage against assault, but utilizing those heals. Well, the STG with a 3x scope actually makes me want to use assault sometimes. It's been that good for me, and using the single fire mode for very long range kills is of course an option for you as well. If you want to know a little more, the STG actually has a faster time to kill at all ranges than the Sturmgewehr, yes, so a real standout again. And the M2 carbine I think feels good, but it can also feel like it requires a lot of consistent landed shots to get a kill. Sometimes you miss a couple of bullets, it requires a lot of them at mid to long range, and they just shoot back and kill you. With the STG, it fires a little bit slower, it's easier to land that damage, you're less punished for missing one. I just like it. I just really enjoy it. Oh, and I will say actually the one downside I put out there for Medic was you don't get a good solid open range sight. Well, here we go. A nice 3x on the STG puts that above SMGs in that regard as well. And so yeah, that I'm rushing it out. That's all I can really do. Whatever I got left, I'll shove into the end of this video for footage. I hope you enjoy. Do let me know. I will reassess this when the 6.2 update drops, along with a lot of other things. So stick around for that. If you're new, subscribe if you want to catch that stuff. Turn on notifications, stay up to date. Like the video if you did enjoy it. I really appreciate it. Leave me some comments about the video, about what you think about the guns at the minute, what you like, and really anything. Food, pets, world hunger, I don't know, whatever it may be. And all the links to my social media can be found in the description and my pinned comment. Here is the Board of Awesome for the epic people who support me on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes, and I love them all deeply and of course, often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. But with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters. Update 6.0 returns the base damage at range values of most weapons to those of 5.0 while maintaining a drop in range damage that is smaller than 5.2 or 5.22. Essentially meaning a lot of weapons, if this is correct, will perform very similarly to how they did before all this TTK debacle, but with slightly less range damage.